And when I saw this story trending earlier today, I said, what in the world is going on? This is some sports news that we are following. And I'll just read you some of what we've learned since there was a press conference earlier with the FBI. The Portland Trail Blazers coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and former Cleveland Cavaliers player and assistant coach Damon Jones have been arrested. This is all part of a wide-ranging investigation related to illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the mafia. Listening to that press conference, I was blown away. They talked about this underground poker gameplay that would happen. X-ray tables were used. The cards were fake. The dealers were in on it. Everybody was in on it except for the people that lost big while playing these games. I want to bring in former FBI Special Agent Ross Rice to really break down a little bit more about how maybe all of this was unfolded and all of this came to be. Ross, thank you so much for your time today.
Hi, Tia. My pleasure.
This is one of those where people are like, how and why would you even participate in something like this, especially for a person like Chauncey Billups that obviously had a career after basketball. Well, what's interesting about this, they're saying that more than 30 people have been charged in connection with these schemes. How does the FBI even find out about something like this, considering that this was considered to be underground gambling in the first place?
Well, that's not set forth in the indictments that were unsealed today, Tia, but my guess is one of the victims or several of the victims of the fraud, and that's what we're talking about here is fraud, came forward, reported suspicious activity, and it led to the investigation. And I'm sure that some of the people that were involved in the criminal activity cooperated because both indictments have a number of unindicted co-conspirators. They're not identified by name, but just by numbers. And I'm sure they were assisting with the investigation as well.
We haven't seen a response from any of these former players or coaches just yet. But in a scheme like this, I mentioned the X-ray tables. I think someone from the FBI said something like, everyone was in on this except for the people that lost. Even the cards were rigged. Have you ever heard of something like this before?
Oh, absolutely. It's very commonplace. What has happened in recent years, gambling has become mainstream. It's legalized, not just in Las Vegas. Look around Chicago. You can do online gambling, sports betting. Fixed casinos are showing up all over the state. And that eliminates a lot of the fraud. But what we're talking about here, Tia, are games that are not being sanctioned by the state. They're, as you indicated, underground. They're being held at private venues, private locations, ostensibly for what you would call high-stakes gamblers. And the attraction for these gamblers that became victims was the opportunity to play cards with celebrities, in this case, current and former NBA players.
When we talk about an investigation like this, are we looking at a case that is being built as a RICO case? Of course, I mentioned the mafia was backing some of this. What kind of case will the FBI be building when we're talking about more than 30 people being charged in connection with a scheme of this magnitude?
Well, the investigation has ostensibly been completed because two different grand jury indictments have been returned. And I think it's important to note this. There's two separate indictments alleging two types of criminal activity. One is the illegal gambling, the poker games that you were talking about. The other involves sports wagering, where players, current or former players, were helping to fix the outcome of games and or provide gamblers with inside information. And the only commonality between the two appears to be one defendant named Damon Jones, who, as you mentioned in your intro, was a current, or rather a former NBA player and coach. But the type of activity alleged in the two indictments is completely separate and unique to each other.
You mentioned that particular indictment, and it's very interesting that you bring that up because I'm reading something that says, as for Rozier in particular, his attorney had previously told ESPN that an initial investigation determined that he did nothing wrong. This was after he met with the NBA and FBI officials. That was in the year 2023. At this point, when the FBI comes knocking on your door for a case of this magnitude, is it safe to say that they know without a shadow of a doubt that some of this stuff you are guilty of?
Well, his attorney referenced an investigation that was conducted in 2023. We're 2 years beyond that. And I'm sure he was interviewed in connection with that investigation, and he gave answers which may or may not have been accurate. But that doesn't mean the investigation stops. And if you get other people that are coming forward who were part of the scheme, and they're able to corroborate the testimony and the information provided by others, the investigation is going to go forward. And obviously, there was sufficient probable cause for a federal grand jury to return an indictment in the Rozier case, charging him and 5 others with wire fraud. There's no RICO charge in either indictment. They're straightforward fraud cases: wire fraud, Hobbs Act extortion, money laundering, and running an illegal gambling business.
It will be interesting to see how this unfolds, if there's even videos of maybe people posing as players at some of these tables. Ross Rice, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today on Chicago Live. Thank you for your expertise as always.
You're quite welcome, Tia.